Welcome to Next Level eCommerce, the webinar series where top e-commerce experts share their advanced tips and tricks.
Yes, welcome everyone. Good that you're all here. I see actually quite some people again that already were here the last session. So welcome back. And for the people that are here for the first time, welcome to Next Level eCommerce. Today we actually really have a really nice guest, but I won't introduce him yet. Let me first start with myself. Hi, I'm Jules. I'm the lead for customer success at Channable. So I'm mainly looking into all the direct customers and agencies that we have and basically see on how they are successful. And that's why we're here as well, to basically give you those practical tips to help you out and to be successful in the end in e-commerce. That's why it's called Next Level e-commerce. And of course, like the person today that we have here had to be in this session as well. I'm doing that together with Jochem, which he will introduce himself in a bit, the lead for our ads team, and that's why we're usually a lot focused on Google Ads. So welcome everyone. So as I said, these webinar series are really focused on expert-led insights and best practices, not only showing you the why around things, so why should you do more with scripts, but also the really how. And I think often that's missing, and that's what we actually want to provide you, so that if you're stepping away from this session, that you actually have something you can do, which will directly lead into best practices also for yourself, because that's in the end what we're doing it here for. And I think this is a nice stage to do so. But we do have some house rules because we have Nils here. He prepped a really great session for you. I already have seen it, but it also means he put time into it. So we would really appreciate you shutting down all other things that can distract you. Also, the best for yourself, because the more you look into it, the better you can use the content actually to also get those best practices out there. Besides that, we do have a questions tab. So if any question arise, and I know for sure people will start asking it in the chat already, but here again, we do have a questions tab. So if you put your question there, then we can upvote the questions. And with we, I mean the whole audience, basically meaning that we can also ask the most upvoted question to Nils. So please bear with me if you can ask the question in the questions tab, and remind everyone that ask the question in the chat to put it in the questions tab, then you will help us greatly as well. And make sure that we can ask the best questions to Nils as well. And again, time is precious, I know, but we try to always give you the best content. So even if it would take a bit longer than we expected, then we like to extend it to make sure the best content is out there, because everything is being recorded. And you're also getting this recording, which will help you in the end to also get the full context out of it. Last session, so this is actually a nice follow-up on last session, where Austin Leclerc mainly dove into search and why it still matters, and why under 20% non-brand search revenue is basically leaving money on the table. So if you want to see more about that, you can still watch the recording for it as well, because he greatly also shared a bit of the PMax plateau problem. And actually, Nils is also going to share a bit about PMax and its limitation it has. And it's a great session with very concrete tips on how to basically win. And I must say, with search, there's a lot to win, because people are getting more lazy, which means with a bit of extra focus, you can get more money out of it. And then we are coming to the introduction of the speaker of today. And now it's time for Jochem.
Yes. Hi, everyone. Jochem here, product lead ads at Channable. You also see me back in the Q&A afterwards, so please leave your questions. I will moderate them. It's an honor to introduce our guest, Nils Rooijmans. He actually doesn't really need an introduction. He's already voted as top 10 PPC influencer. So most of you probably know him already, but I still do it. I think his career started 20 years ago in PPC, even before Google Ads was a thing here in the Netherlands. He worked at the platform side, even at Ilse, was the company, like the search engine before Google. I even used it when I was young. And now he fully moved into the agency world, owning a fully remote agency in the Netherlands, in Amsterdam, from his home boat, if I say that correctly. And Niels, maybe, oh, he's even showing it. It's a little small, but that's looking very, very nice, except the weather.
The houseboat.
The houseboat, nice. That's really, really nice. Yeah, I think next to that, I think people mostly know you from really being an ads or like a script guru. You're also are going to show that today. You're a big collector of scripts, even. And your website I saw like over 400 scripts on your list. So that's really a lot. And today we asked you to show a few of them. And then the mostly the ones that are used for Google for e-commerce customers, and which help you really scale those accounts. Then there is a poll right now about if people are using it. I see most of the people, about 70%, is use scripts a few times. 20% never use them, and 15% are also like real script gurus. So I think there's a lot to learn today. Also good to mention, Nils is not really explaining how to do scripting. We already did some sessions about that in the past, I wrote. So you can watch that back. He's really going into like the use cases today. So with that, Nils, welcome, and feel free to take the mic.
All right, yeah, thanks for the introduction. Let me quickly test if my arrow keys are working. They are. Okay, so today I would like to actually show you how I use script, not so much how I create them. And I'd like to use a case study to illustrate a standard campaign type setup that I've automated with the help of script to increase the results for one of my clients. So this is a case study. The client was selling high-end professional camera materials, so professional digital cameras, lenses, microphones, stuff like that. It's for professionals and hobbyists with way too much money. So you can think of like digital camera lenses that start at prices like 5,000 euros and upwards, right? It was a relatively small web shop. He was already selling it in his offline retail shop, but he also launched a web shop, and there was a freelancer managing his Google Ads account, mostly through Performance Max campaigns. So he had an inventory of roughly 50 products. The account was doing okay-ish, spending 10K a month, but he wanted to increase profitability in the short term. And next to that, also get more reliable results. Because in the last 12 months, he had seen some months that were relatively good, but also some dramatic months where he was just spending a lot of money and didn't make any profit. He was actually losing some money. So he wanted predictable growth and increase in short-term profits in the near run. So that's when we took over the account and we had a look at the current setup, and we immediately decided, okay, we're going to redo everything from scratch. And this is basically the setup that I currently use in most of my e-commerce clients to predictably grow results. So instead of having this chaotic results that Performance Max is generating for us, please let me know in the chat if this sounds familiar to you. Performance Max goes up and down with its performance. It's really hard to scale it without, it's relatively hard to scale it in a predictable manner. But a different setup that I will show today allows you to do so. And our client was really looking for predictable growth and short-term increase in profits. So the first thing we did, of course, was fix conversion tracking, because conversion tracking almost always is broken. We fixed the product feed. Then we moved to a standard shopping plus DSA campaign structure. We had some data-driven standard search ads that I will also show you today. And next to that, later on, dynamic remarketing, demand gen, and only if everything has matured, then we sometimes layer on top some Performance Max campaign. So today we're going to dive in the first 4 parts of this setup and how I use scripts to automate that for you. So let's start with the conversion tracking. Before we took over the account, the client was tracking revenue, not so much profit. But the profit margins varied widely between a digital camera, a microphone, or a lens. Yet the person that was running the campaigns before threw it all in one Performance Max campaign, There was some segmentation based on products, but definitely not on product margin. It was really hard to use the ROAS targets to scale profit because of that. So we decided to also, next to the revenue tracking, implement conversion profit-based tracking based on a secondary conversion tag in the Google Ads platform. So since we only had 50 products, it was relatively easy to use Google Tag Manager to do this. So inside Google Tag Manager, we created a lookup table. So you can basically create a variable, custom variable. You insert a lookup table. And for each product, we entered the cost of goods sold, right? Next to that, we created a function that would calculate the total cost of goods sold for all the items in a single order. So for each order or for each basket, we had the revenue side of things, but also the total cost of goods sold for all the products that were in the basket. And then, of course, you can calculate the profit based on the total revenue minus the tax, minus the shipping cost, minus the cost of goods sold. And that value is the profit for that specific order. And that was communicated back to the Google Ads platform through Google Tag Manager as a secondary conversion action, so that at least we could still see revenue, use revenue for optimization purposes if we wanted to, but also compare it to the actual profit that was being generated in the account. So this is a relatively easy and cheap, for actually free way to set up profit-based conversion tracking in your account. I wouldn't recommend this for big accounts with a lot of products and a lot of transactions. Most probably, you would be better off with a more reliable solution, a third-party solution, maybe even something like Profit Metrics or some other server-side tracking solution. But for relatively smaller accounts, this is a great way to set up profit-based tracking for free. Now, another thing we noticed is that, to our surprise, there was a relatively high return rate on the items. So for this client, he was selling these lenses, right? And the lenses, they had like small variations like autofocus or anti-trimming, or there were just minor differences between a similar product, the same lens, but just slight technical details that were different. And many of the clients, they would order these two variations in the same order. So we had basically could predict that they're never going to take both, right? They're going to return the one that they're the least happy with. And the same thing is also happening a lot, of course, in apparel, fashion, right? So if you have an order basket where someone orders like 4 variations of the same dress, so 2 different sizes and 2 different colors, it's relatively easy to predict that most probably 3 of these 4 items will get returned, right? So again, you can use Google Tag Manager to have a look at the items that are in the basket at the time of the transaction, and then reduce the total revenue value and profit value by subtracting the order value of the duplicate items. Now, one trick to do so is to use the data layer on your thank you page and insert the item group ID for each individual product that is in the basket. That way you can relatively easily create a custom JavaScript function that reduces the total order value, thereby increasing the accuracy of your conversion tracking, because you will have less conversions that are being tracked with values that in the end will get returned. I hope this makes sense. If not, we can chat later in the Q&A. Then, of course, the product feed. Since this is a Channable session, I highly recommend using Channable to increase your the quality of your feed. But you can also use scripts for that. I use scripts to send me an alert if attributes in the feed are missing. And I also use scripts in combination with large language models and their APIs to increase the quality of the titles and the descriptions, and to fix something like missing attributes, like, for instance, the product type. The product type is also something that is gaining a lot more importance inside Google Ads, because Google uses the product type as a way to transfer conversion data learnings, the smart bidding that learns from the conversion data on the individual item IDs, to similar items that have similar product types. So imagine that you have a best-selling product with product type A that goes out of stock. And 20% of the conversions of that specific campaign were being generated by that specific item. Now, all this conversion data is stored at the level of this individual item that went out of stock. If you do not use a product type attribute, you are missing out on the opportunity of smart bidding to transfer the learnings from that out of stock product to other similar products with the same product type. So I highly recommend you always look at this product feed attribute to reap the benefits of this transfer learning inside Google Ads Smart Bidding. Okay, so like I mentioned, the account was running Performance Max campaign with sort of okayish results, but also not so much. And remember, the client wanted to increase the short-term profitability. Well, with Performance Max, as we all know, if you give it a budget, it will spend it. Unless, of course, you have a very high target ROAS. But if you give it a budget, Google will try everything it can to spend all of your budget. And in the process of doing so, it is exploring new growth opportunities for you, which is a good thing. But it's also wasting a lot of money on completely irrelevant clicks, right? Irrelevant search terms, and also clicks from the Google Display Network, which, of course, is notorious for fraud, lead fraud, click fraud. So Performance Max might do a good job in exploring new growth opportunities if the overall results of the Performance Max campaign is meeting your ROAS target, but it's hiding the below average performance of all these non-converting clicks from irrelevant search terms and from the display network. Now, our client wanted to increase short-term profitability, so an easy solution would be, of course, to get rid of these irrelevant clicks. Inside the Performance Max campaigns, that is relatively hard to do. Yes, you can negate queries now. Google, fortunately for us, added the possibility to add negative keywords, but that is behind the fact, right? You can only negate them once you see the data flowing in. Display network, yeah, you can add placement exclusions, but still, if Performance Max is doing a great job, as in the average return on ad spend is above your target return on ad spend, it will expand its search to the display network, and it will start showing your ads there, and most probably waste a lot of money there. So we wanted to get rid of these irrelevant clicks. How do we do that? Well, we simply migrate back to the standard shopping campaign structure and the standard search ads. We're not unique in this sense. This is a graph that is being created by our friends at Smarter eCommerce. This shows the uptake of Performance Max campaign over time. And as you can see in the upper right corner, actually, the line is slightly declining these days, the last few months, year, as in more accounts are moving back from Performance Max to standard shopping campaigns. And there's a good reason for it, and I'll show you in a minute. Now, a very important benefit of using, an advantage of using standard shopping campaigns compared to Performance Max campaign is that standard shopping campaigns have a feature that is called prioritization. You can run a standard shopping campaign with high priority, medium priority, and low priority. If you're not familiar with this concept of different priorities in standard shopping campaigns, I highly recommend you to watch a video that has been shared by Martin Rooijmans, where he explains this concept in a lot more detail than I will be able to explain to you today. It is a very, very powerful concept, and especially relevant if you want to take control and increase profits. So this is the meat of my presentation, in the sense that this is the standard shopping campaign structure that I like to use when my clients prefer profit over revenue growth. I call it the Gatekeeper architecture, and it basically uses these standard shopping campaigns with the prioritization to sort of like filter the search queries that generate clicks with high conversion value, as in they land in the medium priority moneymaker campaign, and not spend a lot of money on exploring new growth opportunities in a high priority Gatekeeper campaign. So let me explain the details of this setup. So on the left part, you see two blue boxes, the Gatekeeper standard shopping campaign with a high priority and a moneymaker standard shopping campaign with medium priority. Now, for the sake of this presentation, we're going to pretend there's only one single product in there, one digital camera. Both campaigns have this one product and a shared budget, but they run different bidding strategies. The high priority Gatekeeper campaign runs either a manual CPC with a very low CPC bid, so let's say 5 cent, 10 cent, 15 cent, or a portfolio target ROAS bid strategy with a bid limit. This is currently my preferred way. The bid limit is also set to a very low value. The medium priority campaign, that is the moneymaker. That is where we want to send all these clicks with a lot of conversion value. That one is running a target ROAS bidding strategy. Could be a portfolio, again, with a bid limit, but mostly I use simply a target ROAS bid strategy with a target. Now, the way we can funnel these relevant clicks with high predicted conversion value to the moneymaker campaign is by using negative keywords in the high priority campaign. So we have this product that sits in both the high priority campaign and the medium priority campaign. Google is trying to match the user queries to that product. And if the high priority campaign is able to match that query to the product, it will take the bid from the high priority campaign. However, if there is a negative keyword in the high priority campaign that is preventing that user query from being matched to the Gatekeeper campaign, then it gets funneled into the medium priority campaign where we can place a higher bid. So we can use negative keyword lists to basically decide what user queries, what search terms we would like to land in the medium priority campaign that has a high bid, and all the other search terms, they get the bid that is attached to the high priority campaign. So at the start of this setup, I always like to create a negative keyword list that I call the qualifiers. So for instance, the GTIN numbers of the products that I'm selling, or these very specific long tail user queries that are sort of like similar to the title of the product. So very precise brand plus type combinations in the user query, or something like a user query like buy digital camera for professionals online. A ridiculous example with low search volume, but you get the idea, right? So I add these high conversion value search terms to a list of qualifiers that is being attached as a negative keyword list to the high priority campaign, thus funneling all the searches to the medium priority campaign for these user queries. If you have this setup running, you will get the search term data. And these search terms can be analyzed, right? So you can have a look at all the search terms from your high priority campaign. And if they have generated a certain number of conversions, meaning that they have high conversion value, you can add them to a negative keyword list. I call them converting search terms. And that negative keyword list will prevent the high priority campaign from placing the bid the next time someone searches for that user query. It gets funneled to the moneymaker campaign where we bid higher, right? So this setup allows you to explore new growth opportunities in the high priority campaign with a low CPC bid and exploit the opportunities that you've discovered in the medium priority campaign with higher CPC bids. Now the green parts, they are automated through scripts. So I have scripts monitoring the search terms. If a search term has had over 2 conversions, it is added to the converting search terms negative keyword list. And other search terms that have had over, let's say, 100 clicks and 0 conversions, they will be added to a shopping negative keyword list that is attached to all my shopping campaigns, so that we do not show any more products for these non-converting search terms. So that way I'm also reducing wasted ad spend in the high priority campaigns. Next to that, I have scripts running that monitor the shared budget. So of course, you don't want to be limited by budget if you're happy with the performance, right? So if the overall performance, the combined performance of these 2 campaigns meets my ROAS target, I would like to increase the budget if we see that we're spending, let's say, 80% of the budget. So the script automatically increases the value of the shared budget. On the other hand, if we see that the performance is so-so, we're not really meeting our target, that basically might mean that we are spending too much money on non-converting clicks in the high priority campaign. So I have another script that monitors the overall performance and decreases the bids in the high priority campaign if we are not meeting the ROAS target. If we are meeting the ROAS target, or if we are overperforming, so the average ROAS is above, let's say 20% above our target, that means we have more room to explore new growth opportunities. We are profitable, but we like to grow the total number of orders at a similar profit ratio. So then the script will automatically increase the bid in the high priority campaign, thus allowing us to explore more growth opportunities by discovering more new converting search terms. So this setup allows us to scale this account, scale the shopping product ads in a very predictable way, and keeping control of the exploration versus exploitation balance. Now, next to the standard shopping campaigns, we also run DSA campaigns. So if you have a shopping feed, you can use scripts to automatically create single product ad groups for your DSA campaigns. Now, the major advantage of doing that is that for each individual product, you can use the script to automatically create highly optimized descriptions for that specific product in your single product ad group, right? You could, of course, run a DSA campaign simply targeting all the pages in your DSA feed, but then you wouldn't be able to optimize all these individual descriptions based on the data that is available in your product feed. Thanks to scripts, you can do so. Hat tip to these guys, Fred Valles and Mathieu Ventran. They basically presented this idea in an earlier session in the PPC town hall. I loved it. I implemented it. It worked like a charm. Okay, so now you have the standard shopping campaigns running. You have your DSA campaign running. And of course, both these campaign types generate a lot of search term data. And you want to monitor these search terms and exclude the ones that are completely irrelevant for your business. So I have another script running that basically reports search terms that have generated over, let's say, 50 clicks or 100 clicks and 0 conversions. These are reported in a Google Sheet, and me or my team member, we can go in the sheet, and inside the sheet, we can basically decide what to do with that individual search term. So we could add it as a negative at the level of the campaign, the ad group, or we can add it to a negative keyword list, and we can indicate what match type to use, exact or phrase or broad. We can also ignore them. So basically we can, inside the sheet, we can say, okay, this search term, we're not 100% sure that we want to exclude them. So ignore this search term the next time the scripts run. We don't want a new suggestion. We do not want to see this as a negative keyword suggestion in the future anymore. And it simply adds it to an ignore list. Now, in one of my latest versions, I'm also using an AI to help us predict negative search terms, even if they have not generated a significant amount of clicks yet. So search terms that only have had, let's say, 100 impressions and 5 clicks, if the AI thinks it is an irrelevant search term, it is also added to this sheet. And the trick here is that the AI itself already knows a lot of things based on the way it has been trained by OpenAI or Google, by Gemini or Claude. But if you provide more information about your specific client in the context of your prompt, then it does a much, much better job at actually generating these negative keyword suggestions. So what we do is we use our Google Sheet to provide feedback on the suggestions that have been generated by the AI. So for instance, if the AI suggests you don't want to show for Canon digital cameras anymore because you're not selling the brand Canon, then you might give it feedback as in, you are right, we are not selling anything of Canon. That way it will learn, okay, in the future, if a search term contains the word Canon, it should be added as a negative keyword suggestion. The other way around might also be that, okay, yeah, you suggested to add Canon digital camera as a negative keyword, but from our experience, the people that are looking for a Canon digital camera might also be interested in our product. Therefore, we would not like to exclude it. And if you provide that kind of feedback in a separate column in the Google Sheet, it is added to the context of the prompt that we send to the AI to suggest a negative keyword. So basically, it learns from our feedback. Now, I have to be honest, this takes a lot of entries and a lot of work to provide feedback that it can actually use to significantly increase the quality of its suggestions. But the concept is sound, it does work, but you have to convince yourself or your team members to provide very good detailed feedback on these negative keyword suggestions. Okay, so next to the DSA campaigns, we can also use standard search ads in a different manner. So we have, again, a standard shopping campaign and the DSA campaigns generating all the search term data. Then I have another campaign, a standard search ad campaign, where I add all these converting search terms as exact match keywords. And inside that standard text campaign, I run initially a single ad group with keywords, with dynamic keyword insertion in the RSA ad copy. And I insert the internal site search landing page for that specific keyword as a keyword level final URL. So inside Google Ads, you can actually add landing pages to your individual keywords, so not to the RSA ad, but individual keywords. And you can use the internal site search of your web shop, the landing page for that search. You can use that as a keyword level final URL. And then I use a portfolio bid strategy with, again, a target POAS and a bid limit. Again, I use scripts to add these search terms as an exact match keyword. Thanks to the dynamic keyword insertions, the ad relevance is always good or above average. And thanks to the internal site search of the web shop, you always have a highly relevant landing page. And again, of course, you can use scripts to update the bid limits for the portfolio bid strategy. This works like a charm. So here's an example of a list of exact match keywords that have been generated. Again, the landing page is the internal result page for the site search. And as you can see, ad scores, the quality scores are just amazing, right? You don't have to do any work, but you always have a very relevant ad copy, and the landing page experience is, well, if you have a good site search, it's really good. You can also use scripts to improve the quality of your feed, like I already mentioned. One easy way to increase the number of impressions and clicks and thus conversions is to simply add your converting search terms in your titles and your descriptions, right? So I have a script monitoring all the search terms, and for all the search terms that have had over 2 conversions, it checks to see if there is a product that has that specific search term in its title. If not, then it suggests a product to add that search term to, right? So for all the converting search terms, we check if we have at least one product that has the search term in the title. If not, then most probably we can find one product that is very relevant for that specific search term, and we simply add it to the title. And then that is added as a supplemental feed in the Google Merchant Center, thereby increasing the quality of your product titles, where you get more impressions for search terms that actually show conversion value. Now, some more examples of how I use scripts in this setup. Normally, the Google Merchant Center has a feed update limit of the frequency of maximum once per day. If you have like a very volatile inventory where products go in and out of stock and you make a lot of changes to the product data, I always recommend to increase that frequency to every hour. You can use scripts for that. You can also use CSS partners for that. But on my website, you can find a script that will increase the update frequency to every hour instead of the maximum inside the Merchant Center of once a day. Another very important script is the out of stock alerts. Like I already mentioned, let's imagine you have a campaign where 20% of the conversions is being generated by a single product that suddenly goes out of stock. What do you think that will do to the performance of that campaign, right? So 20% of conversions for that campaign was being generated by one product that went out of stock. The next few days, the conversion rate will probably plummet, right? Because that campaign is not advertising that product anymore. And if the conversion rate drops, then smart bidding takes some time to learn that the conversion rate, that the performance for that campaign is being reduced dramatically. So the smart bidding will continue to bid at roughly the same level for the next few days, spend at the same level, but your conversion rates will have gone down, and thus your overall performance will have gone down. This is a big thing for Performance Max, but also for standard shopping campaigns that run on smart bidding. So if you have a campaign where a significant number of conversions was being generated by products that went out of stock, you immediately want to know, and you want to tell Google that you expect a lower conversion rate for the next few days. You can do so by using seasonality adjustments. But how do you know when this happens, right? We are not monitoring each and every individual product every day to see if it has been generating a large number of conversions and now it's out of stock. Again, use scripts for that. So this script basically does that. It tells us if there is a product that has a significant number of conversions and it went out of stock. The same goes for disapproved products, right? So Google has these guidelines about what products you are allowed to advertise. These guidelines, Google is using AI to help them make sure that all the products are within the guidelines. But as we all know, AI makes mistakes, right? And I'm not sure about you, but inside the Merchant Center, there's so many products that have been disapproved for faulty reasons. If that happens, you want to be in the know and fix it, or alert Google that Google has made a mistake and you want to appeal and have a new review. Because if a product has generated a lot of conversions and it is being disapproved, you have the same issue that you would have if the product went out of stock, right? So you want to be in the know immediately. And of course, no-brainer, exclude non-converting products or add them to a low priority campaign with a very low CPC bid. You can use scripts for that. Basically, these scripts monitor all products. For products that have generated over, let's say, 200 clicks, it creates a supplemental feed. This sheet says custom label 5. You need to change it to a custom label that you are not using already, custom label 0 to 4. And then you can use that in your campaign structure to filter these products, either exclude them completely from all your campaigns or add them to a low priority campaign with a very low bid so that you're not wasting more money on these products. Now I'm going to tease you a little bit. I just showed you the nice canal that I'm overlooking right now. I live in Amsterdam. I love Amsterdam during the summertime, not so much in the winter because now the leaves start falling from the trees. It's getting windy, rainy. So I leave to Dutch Caribbean island called Curacao, close to Venezuela. This is the view from my office, right? Imagine me sitting there in my flip-flops and my Speedo. And there is this product, I'm going to let you guess, this product that is being sold by one of my clients. It is a mouse mat heater. Now, of course, me sitting there with this view, I could never imagine it's December, this product being a trending product, as in this product was gaining a lot of momentum, both in impressions, clicks, and in conversions. If I had not been running a Google Ads script, I would never notice this. But thanks to the script, I did notice that this product was gaining traction, and I could separate it into a new campaign so that we can reap the benefits of this seasonality trend by giving it its own budget and its own target, right? Because the weeks before, this product was simply doing nothing. And if you separate it in a separate campaign, you can actually tell Google, okay, let's go after the opportunity here. Now, all these scripts combined with the setup allowed us to replace a Performance Max campaign structure that was sort of okay-ish, but not generating enough profit, and was very unstable in its performance, like choppy results every month. We completely replaced that with something that was more stable and showed a steady increase in short-term profitability. So the client was happy. But then the question becomes, how far can we take this, right? How far can we increase these profit? This is a chart that shows you the relationship between your ROAS target or your POAS target, if you're tracking profit, and the actual profit that you would generate. So on the horizontal axis, you would see your target. Let's say you start with a relatively low target. It could even be below your break-even ROAS target, then of course you would bid very high, get a lot of impressions and clicks, also conversions, but these conversions wouldn't be profitable because you're below your break-even target, right? Then you start increasing your ROAS target, and as a result, the CPC bids will also go down. You get less impressions, less clicks, less conversions, but the profitability per conversion goes up, therefore increasing your profit, right? But if you increase your ROAS target too much, you might start losing a lot of profitable conversions. So instead of 100 conversions a week, you would only get 50 conversions a week. And although the relative profit margin per conversion is much higher because of your higher ROAS target, the absolute total profit starts decreasing because the number of conversions is decreasing. Now, the shape of this curve is very important, and it differs per client, per campaign. So you would have to test it, right? You don't know the shape of this curve up front. You don't know where the maximum ROAS, where is the target that generates the maximum profit. You have to experiment and test it. So the way I do it is I use custom columns to do so. So I create a custom column named gross profit after ad spend. And that custom column basically tells me, it's basically calculated as the revenue minus the shipping cost, minus tax, minus the product cost, minus the ad spend, right? So that is the gross profit after ad spend, or some would call it net result. And then I run an A/B test with my standard shopping campaigns using a geo split. So I have geo region A, geo region B, and then I use different targets for my smart bidding algorithm, and I monitor the performance in my gross profit after ad spend column. And as you can see, for this specific client, a higher target ROAS, or POAS, because we are tracking profit here. So the target ROAS of 150% outperformed the target ROAS of 130%. Thus, basically telling me that, if we want to increase the profitability, our target should be closer to 150 than to 130. And most probably, I would create a new experiment where I would test 150% versus, let's say, 180% to see which target ROAS was generating the most profit. So this way, you can sort of like test and experiment with the shape of the product curve. So the client was happy. Before, they were spending like roughly 10K a month, hardly break even, and very hard to grow in a predictable way. But after 8 weeks already, we actually cut down on irrelevant spend, but we were definitely profitable, and we were able to grow the account in a very predictable way, which made the client very happy. Now, the good news is you can do this too. As in, I've showed you the setup. I've showed you examples of how I use scripts. You don't have to be a developer. You don't need any coding skills to use these scripts. Some of them are for free. You can get them through my website. Others are paid for. You can send me an email, or you can simply create them yourself using my custom GPT, the script Sensei. And I hope you start experimenting with that. All right, thank you for your attention, and now let's open it up for questions.
Great, thanks a lot, Nils. I actually quoted, or I will quote some comments actually in the chat. I actually already found it really, really interesting, because there are too many things that you also told where my brain almost exploded on things that I have to look into myself as well. But I was not the only one, because Ellie, for example, said, my brain hurts. This is so interesting. So you're even giving people headaches, which maybe wasn't your purpose, but you did so, but on the positive way. Another one, this has gotta be the most valuable webinar I've seen so far.
Oh, thank you.
So I would say thank Zion for it. And thanks, Nils. Great webinar. And I think this is great. You deserve the sun. So maybe you should go to Curacao anytime soon. Nice. And yeah, I completely agree. There were so many good things in it, from the mouse mat warmer sitting in Curacao to conversion tracking for free, to using AI for negative keywords, and to name many more. I actually have a lot of questions, but I feel we should open it up for the audience to ask those questions. But as you know us, we always do that via Jochem. So Jochem, what are the top questions from today's session?
Yes, thank you, Nils. I also learned a lot. Maybe for you, Nils, I'm going to the questions that are upvoted the most.
Sure.
So you can also read along. The first question is from Marco. Do you recommend running standard shopping campaigns along with PMax? If so, why?
Yeah, so like I described, I personally like to start with standard shopping campaigns, and only if that setup has matured, if I feel that we've reached the limit of its growth, and we are already running dynamic remarketing on display and demand gen if we want to do more upper funnel, only then I would like to test Performance Max campaign just to see if it can uncover some hidden things that we haven't discovered with our standard setup. And I like to limit the Performance Max campaign to the best-selling products.
Okay. And there is, I think, a follow-up question from Marit. What is your idea about PMax shopping-only campaigns or feed-only campaigns?
Right. Yeah. So again, I prefer the standard shopping approach, and the reason for that is that compared to Performance Max, you have much more control. Also, mostly because of the prioritization within the standard shopping campaigns, you can literally filter and pre-qualify the search terms before you get the click. That is not possible with Performance Max, feed-based. And another big advantage of standard shopping campaigns is that they won't show on the display network. Performance Max will show on the display network. Google feels like it feels like it.
Got it. And do you think it's future-proof?
Sorry?
The focus on standard shopping, do you think it's future-proof?
Future-proof.
Yeah.
We never know, right? As in, Google is making changes to the platform every day, but I don't see standard shopping campaigns disappearing anytime soon, simply because of Google still making a lot of money thanks to them. Also, what I've noticed is that Google tried to introduce Performance Max campaign for a couple of years ago as the one and all campaign type to rule it all, but they are backing off from that statement and that philosophy, as in they realized that the campaign type isn't doing what they thought it would be able to do. So I think standard shopping campaigns are going to be here for a little while.
Good to know. Then this webinar will be useful in the future. A question from Abby. Is the Gatekeeper architecture scalable for large feeds, or would you mainly use it for small feeds?
Yes, it's definitely scalable for large feed, but you would have to, most probably you would have different pillars, as I call them, for different product categories or product types, or you would have to think strategically about the campaign setup. It gets more difficult, of course, a little bit more complex, but you would also need to do something similar with PMax. So so it's definitely, you can definitely use it with multiple products in different product categories with different margins.
Yeah. Nice. Then a question from Jens. Do we get the scripts Nils is telling about? I added the link already. Are all the scripts mentioned in that URL?
The free ones are mentioned at the landing page of, I think, the link that you shared, right?
Yep.
Yeah. And for the rest, feel free to use either my custom GPT to create it yourself, or find me if you are interested in the paid version.
Nice. Another question from Abby. Does the semi-automatic add negative keyword script include PMax search terms or only search?
Both, yeah. So the paid version is both for PMax and for standard campaign types.
Then a question from Paul. Regarding the product type, would you recommend to aggregate items, so clothing, shoes, or be as specific as possible? For example, clothing, shoes, sneakers, and the same for boots. For categories where performance and margins are about the same.
Let me reread the question. I'm not sure if I understand.
Yeah, you mentioned it at the beginning of your presentation.
I'm not sure if I really understand the question, but the idea would be that each individual product has a product type, and similar products would use the same product type. So for instance, if you have, let's stick to sneakers. If you have sneakers that are for trail runs, the product type could be trail run sneakers versus sneakers that are not specifically for trail running, right? You get the idea, hopefully.
Okay. I think the question from Michelle is answered. A question from Marie. Oh, sorry, my questions are flipping around. I believe the question was about DSAs. Like with AI Max, do you still need DSAs, or would you move to AI Max?
DSAs. AI Max is still experimental. Just like Performance Max in the early days, Google is constantly making changes, which makes it very hard for us PPC professionals to optimize for it. And of course, the machine learning behind AI Max is still learning, just as it was, during the early days of Performance Max. So with these type of new campaign types or new beta features in the platform, my approach is to always test it, always be testing, but only spend a very small percentage of your budget on these new campaign types or features, and let the other advertisers pay for Google to learn and fix things.
Nice. And let's do one more question, and I think then it's time to round off. For the other open questions that are there, we always try to answer them, but we have to double check with Nils if he's okay to also answer the other ones, but we'll then share it later on with you. So one more question, Jochem.
Yeah, I'm scanning through the...
If you have any, and otherwise...
I'm just looking at questions we didn't answer. For the Gatekeeper structure, it's actually a question for myself. Like you mentioned, you're using a few scripts for it. How do you track all those scripts? Like if you, I'm not sure how many customers you manage, but let's say 10, 20 customers. How do you manage all those scripts across all those customers?
Yeah, great question. Yeah, we could do a whole webinar about that as well, but I can make it very complex, explain how I do it, or I can make it relatively simple. And the simple answer is simply to start running them, and then you will discover for yourself how easy it is to make it client specific and keep a script set up that will work for your specific situation. It might feel overwhelming at first, but if you start running these scripts in your client accounts, you will discover that it's not that hard. And if you transform them into Google Ads Manager account scripts, the MCC level scripts, you could, basically, it's not easy, but you could do it with the help of my custom GPT or ask me to do it for you. And then you can run them from your manager account and easily manage all these scripts from a single Google Sheet, where you can basically indicate this script should be running in this client account with this email setting, this campaign threshold setting, stuff like that. So that's basically a sort of like sheet-based dashboard to manage all the scripts for all your individual clients' accounts. That way you keep track of what's running where, and the reports are also generated in that Google Sheet.
Nice. Great. Now, then again, thanks a lot, Nils, for all the great insights. I think everyone learned quite a bit, maybe too much to directly implement, but there were a lot of takeaways that I think they can take home. Hope to see you another time. So we'll stay in touch. And as you saw, like the audience was really, really happy about it. And to be honest, we didn't get these types of comments so far. So I would say you did an amazing job. Thanks.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you for joining Next Level eCommerce. If you want to see more, check out our YouTube or give us a follow on LinkedIn to get more e-commerce tips and tricks. See you at the next one.